Siguro naman naiintindihan niya ako kasi binuhay niya pa ako eh. Ganun daw. Binuhay niya pa ako na kahit...
She felt the fact that she survived the abortion showed that God had forgiven her.
Ganun siguro. Kaya ito ako parang pangalawang buhay ko na.
Dr. Melgar said that faced with stories like Remy's, she had no option but to give advice on abortions, despite what the law said.
Eventually, we give them information about the safe abortion. We also warn them against unsafe practices that could kill them.
But you know of service providers, safe service providers, who would look after these poor women and give them a proper abortion.
Yes, I think most women's NGOs would have contact. I think if you really are pro-women, you would have contact to these services that are underground.
40% of Filipinos live in desperate poverty. The larger the family, the more likely it is to be poor.
This is the top of the dump.
This is a garbage dump.
Yes. Huh?
We've been trying for days now to find a helot, a traditional midwife who provides induced abortions to poor women. But they're scared to speak with us because they don't want their identities to be revealed. They're scared of the authorities, and also because they move around a lot, they don't want their locations to be found. We finally found a helot who's agreed to speak with us to show us what she does, but we have to conceal her identity. In Manila, there are hundreds of these helots. They charge £7 a session.
Ano ko, kasi may alam ako, nag-gloves talaga, tapos inaano talaga doon sa parang...
The helots try to locate the fetus inside the womb.
She said it's like a chicken's egg, and as soon as she feels it, okay, she turns it, puts her hand inside and pulls it out. The water breaks and blood comes gushing out, and most women of course scream in pain because it is a very, very painful procedure.
Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 sessions to abort the fetus.
Ganyan. Hindi rin kasalanan sa Diyos yan na tutulong ka kung...
Despite being a devout Catholic, she considers what she's doing to be correct. She says it's also part of her religion to help those who are in pain, to help the poor, to help those who suffer. Most of her patients accept they will end up in hospital. As a woman, I can't even imagine the pain that some of these women who are getting these induced abortions have to go through. They don't get any anesthetic. There's no medicines to ease their pain. And it's really a brutal form of getting an abortion, but these women are desperate. For women who can scrape together £60, there is another option. I've just gotten off the phone with one of our contacts. There's an illegal abortion about to take place and we have the address. We were told to hide our camera and park far away from the secret clinic. Carrying out an abortion and having one can result in a lengthy jail term.
This is a tiny little 2-bedroom apartment in a nondescript building in a middle-class neighborhood. Nobody could ever guess that there's an abortion clinic here.
We'd been warned that the abortion would be very distressing. Inside, there was a terrified 17-year-old.
This young woman has a 3-month-old baby and she's already 8 weeks pregnant. So she's opted for an abortion. She's obviously very nervous.
She told us she wanted people to see what Filipino women had to endure.
She says she didn't have any other choice. She already has one child and she can barely afford to feed that child. How did your parents react when you told them that you wanted to get an abortion?
It turned out that an underground support group had paid for the procedure.
This young woman's father doesn't want her to have an abortion. Her mother has agreed, and that's why she's at this facility. When she goes back home, she's just going to tell her father that she wasn't pregnant. That was a false pregnancy alarm.
The woman preparing to carry out the procedure was medically unqualified. She picked up the technique working with a doctor who carried out illegal abortions. Despite her lack of qualifications, she also administered anesthetic. The abortion began. The abortionist and her assistant had only the most basic equipment. They told me that it was too dangerous for them to carry out an abortion on a woman who was more than 8 weeks pregnant. As the procedure went on, they realized that their patient was 11 weeks pregnant.
She's crying, even though she's under anesthetic for the loss of the baby.
This time, there were no complications. Sometimes girls have to be rushed to the hospital. The abortionist told me she lived in fear of discovery.
Pag nagigilty ako, pumupunta na lang ako sa simbahan.
She feels guilty about performing abortions because she's Catholic, especially when she goes to Mass and she hears the priest criticize women who carry out abortions.
Pag nagsisimba akong kasama ko,
She began to cry.
Inahak na lang niya ako kasi alam niya I'm doing this procedure.
I've made her cry by talking about the Catholic guilt, so it's obviously something that plays on her mind from time to time.
We were invited to film at one of Manila's major women's hospitals. They have to repair women who have been damaged by backstreet abortionists all the time.
There have been stories of doctors working in state hospitals treating women who have gone through abortions badly. But women's rights groups have been working with these doctors, and at least at this hospital, the doctors' attitudes seem to have changed.
This hospital deals with thousands of women who have undergone illegal abortions. So many, in fact, that it's had to set up a special ward for them. Many women are scared of coming to the hospital. The senior doctor Alice Lean said that they often left it so late they arrived on the verge of death.
Most women who come here are bleeding profusely, they have infections, they're septic, they've tried to induce their own abortions by putting a bamboo stick inside of them or a guava tree branch inside of them, or they've used Cytotec, which induces contractions.
She said they kept the women safe from prosecution.
Even though abortion is illegal in the Philippines, the doctor is telling me that this hospital does not report the induced abortions to the police because the women will get scared. They will stop coming to the hospital and they'll just die out there when they get complications.
I wanted to talk to some of the women in the ward about their experiences. I said we'd hide their faces, but they were still too terrified to speak to us.
There have been admissions in the last 24 hours of women who've come in with complications from induced abortions, and I've been trying to speak to them. To one in particular, a 17-year-old girl who came last night, but her family doesn't know that she went through an abortion, and she's petrified that her identity will be revealed and that somebody in her family will recognize her, so she's not agreeing to speak to me.
Sorry.
I'd arranged to go and see the man who's run Manila City for the last 8 years, Mayor Lito Atienza. He is vehemently against abortion and is responsible for banning contraceptives in government clinics in the city center.
I'm at Manila City Hall in Mayor Atienza's pro-life city. This is where religion and politics come together.
Many people are still imbued with the with that brainwashing that has gone on for decades. That the